Every couple of weeks, we catch up with Ray Chamberlain, often in the best of circumstances, and today probably not so much. Razor, welcome back to the program.
G'day, Jared. I'll challenge you on that, mate. I've knocked the washing over. I've had coffee. I've had a great chat with the physios from Geelong down over breakfast about all sorts of things. I'm having a cracking start to my day.
How disappointed were you to learn, Ray, that you won't officiate in a preliminary final?
Oh, look, I think everyone could answer that question for me. You don't. This has been an extraordinary year, Jared. And I'm stating the obvious, but people, I don't think would probably. There's lots of stuff that goes on, obviously, in everyone's lives. This has been really challenging times, and I think the phrase best to describe it is, you don't want to come this far to only come this far, but at the same time, Jared. And you do. You think, I'm sitting in a hotel room and not allowed to leave, etc. So there's a bit of thinking time. And with my personality, that has me bouncing off the walls a bit. But I think what's really important to reflect on is I'm really proud actually of having got to where I've gotten to this year. I'm really proud of my two performances with the teams I was involved with, the guys that I umpired with in the finals. I'm really proud of how we came together and serviced the game. And I'm really proud of the umpires who are left. Like, we've got 8 quarters to go this week, and then 3 plus an emergency will be afforded the responsibility and the privilege of the grand final in Perth, which is going to be the most incredible experience. The people over here have embraced this opportunity like I've not seen. And I'm really proud of the team that will get that opportunity, Jared. Our guys and girls have uprooted their lives to continue to service the game of Australian rules football, which we're not whinging about. We're so blessed to still have our jobs. But what we've been able to do as a collective, I personally think is extraordinary. And I could not be prouder of my colleagues this weekend.
Were you surprised to not win a place in the last 6 on the field?
Look, I've been around a bit, Jared. This is my 15th final series in a row, and I've had various degrees of success in that process, and I've had 15 different types of phone calls, right? And so nothing's a surprise anymore. You're hopeful. You're certainly hopeful. And last year, if I reflect on last year, Jared, I stewed on it a bit. I was pretty filthy. More at me. I sort of gave them an opportunity, a reason that, okay, we can move him aside. And so I wasn't the best version of myself. And so that didn't sit well with me, because that was my fault. I have control over that. What I'm really comfortable about this year, mate, and quite content, is that I was able to do what I'm supposed to do for the players this year. And so I feel really good about having done that.
Were you given a reason?
Not yet, mate. Nah. But again, I've sort of touched on this historically. I think what's really important to understand, and your previous caller and the topics you were talking about, there are bigger things going on, mate. And really what's required now is for the 8 people on our list, field umpires. There are boundaries and goals as well. Score review, all that sort of stuff, right? For my guys, there's 8 of us, we have to put all our energy into positive performances on the weekend and managing and supporting the game so the players can be the stars. And that is our job. And so that's what we'll worry about.
Do you feel like in these moments you get penalised for being a bigger part of the game than umpires typically are in our code, but is not at all out of step with what happens in world sport?
There's a line of thinking there for sure. But like anything in life, Jared, there's pros and cons to everything. So I get the opportunity to come on here and advocate for our group and what we do, as a result of that thing. So I think probably more so. There's noise. There's definitely noise, but some of that stuff's made me have to be better at what I do. So I have to get it right. I have to communicate effectively and respectfully. I have to, I can't have a little moment that potentially others can that gets swept away. So I think maybe in a way it sort of helps me.
Have you thought about what comes next at the end of a season? At the end of a season is never a great time to make decisions, I've always found. But have you thought about it?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it every year for the last 3 years, Jared. And so the commitment I make to myself is I do my job for the year. So I haven't finished that yet. I've got 3 mates who I just love. 2 of them in particular. One of them's too young to be in this part of the conversation, you lucky bugger. But the other 2, they're just about ready to draw their last breath. And we've done 20 pre-seasons together, right? They're my training buddies. They're my best mates that I've had since I've been involved in the AFL. And so, yeah, we've got to get that job done. So I'll get that done, and I've got to support them and give everything of them. I'm doing the coffee runs. That's my gig this week, right? So Triple O Chambo, any emergency, that's call me. And then I'll have some time. I'll talk to my wife and my daughter, and then we'll make decisions from there. But right now, that's my job.
A couple of the specifics, and we won't torture the point today. I'm interested in the balance between skill error and insufficient intent, and whether that's been a tension point throughout the year, and whether it's something that the department has on the agenda to review at the end of the year.
No, it's a really good question. So if we talk broadly about the rule, and we've touched on the shift from deliberate out of bounds to a new framework, which is insufficient intent to keep the ball in play. So if we talk about skill error, the guidelines that have been provided to the umpires by the game, they've said to the umpires, a skill error is something we want you to consider when the player is in clear possession of the football. So I'm up, I'm running, I've got ball in hand, I'm going to kick it or handball it, and I either shank it through no deliberate action, or I'm affected by an opposition player who may push me in the side, tackle me, etc., and it causes an error of skill and it goes out of bounds. In that situation, we are afforded the opportunity to demonstrate some leniency, and we will call for a throw-in. That's a runway we've got. In a situation where a player is confronted with ball on ground or loose ball in air, and they choose to, in an indiscriminate way or in a forceful way, hack it off the ground, the actual wording in terms of our framework says they run the risk. They run the risk of conceding a free kick by virtue of the fact that by choosing to hack it off the ground or hack it out of the air, they have elected not to gain possession, and with that comes an increased inherent risk that the ball will go out of bounds. So that's the philosophy and the directives since January that my brethren have been afforded to implement in the game.
So our broad assumption from the outside is that the Caleb Daniel decision was wrong, but within your framework, is it justifiable?
Well, I've just explained to you our framework. I'll let you apply it to the specific individual cases as they present. But if the ball is not in possession, if players not in possession of the ball and they forcefully just try and hack it off the ground, hack it out of midair, the notion of skill error is not to be applied as such.
Yep. Do you?
There's an inherent risk that it could go out of bounds.
Do you think there's a mind to have a look at how insufficient intent is working at the end of the year?
I think with a lot of these things, particularly when they move from one thing to another at end of year, and I like that, at end of year, these things are always reviewed and input sought from stakeholders, coaches, Players Association, representatives from the umpiring group. So I'm certain that that would be one example where they'll get feedback for sure.
And the broader issue of 2 finals ago now, so the contact with Matt Stevick from Toby Green, a scenario that is unresolved for the moment. It's a 3-week suspension with an appeal pending. How did that play out within the umpire group? Was it an unusual moment?
Yeah, I think, my immediate thing was I sent Stevo a text. I just said to him, well done in terms of how you just in the moment responded. You didn't overreact or make a big deal of anything. Hope you're well, mate, and make sure you rest up because you're going to get a few of these. And then gave him some space because I could imagine that his phone would have lit up, which is always hard work when you're trying to prepare to umpire for a final. The only thing I'll say about it, Jared, given that it hasn't run its course, is that we have, from an umpiring perspective, I know of, I've met parents of kids who umpire community footy, and they might be young teenagers and they're umpiring kids who are older than them or adults. And the parents their overwhelming concern is the safety and well-being of their children in those environments. And I know my mum shared this with me when I started umpiring. She goes, I just was so concerned that something horrible was going to happen. And so that is something that I think we just all need to, when we go to St Bede's Tigers, Mentone, Bowie Sharks, down at Chelsea Heights, whatever it is, we just all need to take a deep breath and understand that they're kids. Generally, they're kids, and if they're not, they're people, they're volunteers. And some people sometimes say, "Geez, we noticed the umpires too much today." I tell you what, mate, we don't front up, you'll notice us.
Yes. So it's an all of code moment rather than just about the AFL.
I think so, but it'll run its course, and and people it'll get sorted. You know what I mean? And we move forward better as a result. I think we look at it like that.
Ray, enjoy your last bit of time in Perth. We'll look forward to seeing you back in Melbourne. Thanks for all that you've been a part of, and I know there's a couple of things you want to say as we close.
Thanks very much, Jeff. I do. Hey, listen, just on behalf of our group, I don't speak on behalf of the AFL umpires. I don't represent them in terms of this. When I come on, it's just me giving a little bald bloke's view of the world. But on this occasion, there's an exception to every rule, right? So we have two people in our department who are the best people I've ever met. So we've got Aaron Nunn and Lou Caluzzi who work tirelessly. I can't tell you how many flights, COVID tests. Ray needs a new pair of shorts. He's forgotten his sweatbands. You name it, these people do it. No one would know them if they walk past the street, Jared. And I want them to know that our whole group know them, we see them, we respect them, we value them, but more importantly, we bloody love them. So to Nunny and Lou, you're the best.
Good on you, Ray. Thanks for being part of it.
Cheers, mate.
Ray Chamberlain over in Perth.